Hi everybody, I'm Giancarlo.
And I'm Felicia.
This is our review of Titan Tactics. Thought she was gonna say it, she didn't.
Just saying there's no titans on the box. There's like zombies and stuff. Or like mummies and Medusa.
It's not Medusa.
Well, something like her.
She looks like people say I'm not a geek. I read Guardians of the Galaxy. That looks like Gamora. Daughter of Thanos.
Oh, I confirm you're a geek.
Daughter of Thanos.
I
Thank
will-
you.
I will-
She confirms I'm a geek.
I attest to him
Just
being a geek.
because I'm good looking.
Titan Tactics is a two-player tactical fighting game. In the box you'll find a playing board representing the arena, shroud tokens and wall tokens, a balance token, two momentum tokens, status tokens which include stuff like blight, guard, lock, lash, and more, 5 colored decks for each of the factions, champion tokens for each of the champions in the game, and finally skill cards for each of the players. The first player to get 3 momentum tokens or the first player to get balance token to their red square wins the game. Here's how to set up. Both players choose a faction. You can choose from the Created, who are dark cursed creatures, the Crew of the Returner, who are pirates and scoundrels, the Dreamers, who are wizards, warriors, and dragons, the Crucible of Order, who are the Zealots, angels, and elementals, and finally the Black Brigade, who are the undead soldiers. Place the board so that the red X is in front of both players. Place the balance token on the green spot. This token will move back and forth as players damage their opponent. Now each player will place a wall token on the board. They cannot overlap each other and they cannot be played on top of the home row of a player, which is the darker areas. Now each player will choose 3 of the 6 champions in their faction and place those 3 tokens with the active side face up. The timer side means the champions have been activated. Each player gets a skill deck which is made up of 3 cards for each of the 5 colors. These cards will be spent to pay for champion abilities. Finally, each player will go through the deck and choose 5 cards as their starting hand. You're now ready to play. A round is played in 6 alternating turns, 3 for each player. To begin a round, a player first activates a champion who has not yet activated. This champion can take 2 actions. Then the player can choose to push or plan. If he pushes, he can make the champion take an extra action. If he plans, he can take 3 cards from his skill deck. You never draw cards in this game. You look through your deck and choose cards. Play goes on between players until all 6 champions have been activated. Then you have an end phase. Here you will gain momentum and sustain effects. Play continues until a player wins the duel.
Let's look at the champion cards and action. A champion card has its faction symbol, perk icon, and abilities. The perks are passive abilities which are also summarized on the summary cards. If you end your activation next to a burning champion, you take 2 damage. Defender takes 1 less damage when he takes damage. A marksman ignores shroud when aiming. A skirmisher forces the opponent to discard a skill card to target his champion. A swift champion can take 1 additional action. A winged champion moves 4 spaces, ignores walls and other champions, and does not suffer from breakaway attacks. The abilities have a range icon next to them. They are also described on the back of the summary card. These are self, melee, short, and long ranged. The color of the ability is the card you must discard to use that ability. Now that you know the cards, let's take a look at the actions. You can yield, move, or use an ability. Yielding simply means you do nothing. Moving means you can move 2 spaces per action, and yes, you can move diagonally. To use an ability, simply discard that color card from your hand back into your skill deck and perform that ability. Once your champion has taken 2 actions, you can push or plan. If you're adjacent to an enemy unit, you are considered to be engaged. Therefore, you can't target another unit. If you move away, you get 2 damage from each champion you moved away from as breaking away damage. Whenever you deal damage, you move the balance token towards your red space. Some abilities will allow you to shroud and place the cloud on the board, blocking targeting from other champions, unless they have Marksman's perk. Some abilities will make you summon tokens which help you during the fight. Spawns do not move or take actions but do engage enemy units and make breakaway attacks. Once all the champions have been activated, the end phase starts. The end phase has 5 steps. Step 1, the player with the balance token closest to their red spot places a momentum token on their momentum track. If you gain another momentum, move the token one space. If you reach the yellow space, you win the game. Step 2 is to sustain effect tokens. If you want a token to stay in play, you can pay its cost again by discarding a skill card of that color. Step 3 is the spawn activations and deactivations. Step 4 is to flip all champions back to the active side, and Step 5 is to start a new round with the first player going first again. Play until a player is crowned the ruling titan of the land. If you played Summoner Wars, then you can think of this game as a junior version of it. Smaller game size and shorter games. The concept and the art is very good, but the cards are not very well balanced. You'll play some frustrating games where you realize that your army just won't have a fighting chance. You're gonna have to play the game a lot, and as you're playing, you should remove the champions who are too strong. Each army has a style of playing, but pinning a melee army against a ranged army inside a small arena is a recipe for unbalanced games. So combos can literally lock another army into place, and the game is over before it even starts. We realize that balancing cards in a game can be challenging, but this is why most game designers will add variant costs to play cards. We made a house rule where each round the players set up again the starting grid. This gives the chance to a player who might have played a bad strategy last round to try something different this round. That helped a little, but when you have a champion who can make the other player discard his hand, leaving him with no way to pay for actions, it kinda sucks for that player. Some of the mechanics, like having 2 ways to win and looking into your deck instead of drawing, is nice, but just not enough to keep us wanting to play this game. It's not a bad game, it's just a little unbalanced, and it would need a second edition. If you're looking for a small, quick, portable 2-player game with some tactics, then maybe check it out. It's also not an expensive game for what you get, but this is not a game for hardcore players who will find combos and break the game. Best for casual couples who like tactical movement games. Titan Tactics deserves a look at a second edition, but for us, it's a 6 out of 10. For now, until the next edition comes out where champions are a little more balanced.